It's new study time. And I was thinking, again, just the whole idea of letting go and letting God. Letting go of the things that oppress us, that make us fear, that weigh us down, the burdens of life. And I started looking through different options and thinking about different stories. And I was just like, man, oh, that's a great story. I'll make that point. Oh, let's go to that story. And I kept realizing they all came back to Abraham and Sarah. So instead of going through the whole Bible, we'll just go through the story of Abraham and Sarah, which is really all about letting go of things and letting God bless. And when they did let go, how did things turn out?
Yep.
Awesome. When they didn't let go, what happened? Not so well. So hopefully this will be a lesson for us to let go of things and just turn it over to God and His will. But to do that, first we're going to do a history of the world. Ready?
Yep.
Take a deep breath. So, now how long this period of time is a matter of great debate. There are a lot of people who say that from Adam, after the fall, obviously, to Abraham was 2,000 years. And then from Abram to Jesus was 2,000 years. Therefore, from Jesus to His return is what?
1,000 years.
Don't do that. Don't. And here's one problem. We have no idea. You can try to do that, looking at the genealogies, and he begat that person that lived so long, and then begat that person, but we know the genealogies always aren't completely complete. Sometimes they skip a few people. Sometimes it's a grandson. Sometimes it's begat could be anybody in the lineage and the years. So we're not going to play that game. We have no idea how long this history is, but let's do a little bit of the history of mankind from the fall or even from the creation all the way to Abram. Shall we do that? Very quickly. First of all, Genesis 1:1. Who knows Genesis 1:1?
In the beginning.
How does it start?
In the beginning.
Genesis. Genesis, the Hebrew word Genesis means what? In the beginning. Let's say it all together. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. You know how it goes, right? On the first day, He created what? Come on, you guys go back all the way to Sunday school.
Water.
In the beginning, and He said, let there be light. Now, very importantly, there was something else created that day. Does anybody know what it is? Time. Do not forget that.
Light time.
Because not only did He create light, but then He had the light go for a period of time, and then it turned what? Off. And then He turned it back on. And the time of off and on was called a what?
Day.
A day. This is very important. So all those people out there say, oh, a day is like 1,000,000 years for God, right? So God just used natural evolution and things like that to create all things because He could have just let it go for 1,000,000 years to do it. No, because it would have been 1,000,000 years of dark and 1,000,000 years of light.
Okay.
Either one of those, what would happen to His creation? It'd be a disaster. It was a 24-hour period. We know it's true, and that's the way it works. Who knows what He created on day 2? Lucy.
He separated the water from the air.
All right. Basically, what's sky in there? Atmosphere. Everybody take a deep breath. Isn't it nice? He separated from the water, sky, and the water, right? And then on day 3, what did He create?
He didn't create water though.
Yeah, the water was already there, but separated sky from the water. So what was the third day?
It was
Land.
Yeah, pulled that land out of there, and then what did He do with that fine land?
separated the water.
Put stuff to grow on it, right? When you get some dirt, it's going to grow, especially out here, right? Now, where I'm from, back in Bakersfield, if you have a piece of land and don't water it, what happens? Absolutely nothing. You come back 1,000,000 years later, and what will you have? Dirt. It'll never grow anything. It'll just will sit there. But that's not the way God did it. He put land, therefore He then put the trees and bushes and flowers. All right, good stuff. That's excellent stuff. By the way, what do plants need to live? Sun, actually just light. So, so we're doing okay, because what do you do the next day? Sun, moon, stars, right? sun, moon, stars. By the way, how many stars are there? Quick, anybody have?
Many.
Many, good. Good as estimate as anybody. Billions and billions and billions upon billions.
They said we
In,
can count.
in fact, to be able to, they've tried to estimate it. They've tried to take one little corner of the universe and try to count how many stars in there, and they extrapolate that across everything. The only problem with that is they realize, wait a minute, some of those stars that we're counting in there are actually entire galaxies. So that becomes a problem, doesn't it? We have no idea how many there are, but he did create the sun, the moon, the stars, and then day 5 and day 6 I love, because what did he do on day 5? The things to put in the sky and the water. Always remember it that way. So we get the birds and the sea animals. We'll just call them fish for shorthand. So that'd be the porpoises and the whales and things like that. Octopus. Yeah. Somebody ate an octopus today. So birds and the fish, and then what on day 6?
Mankind.
Well, animals first. And then the piece de resistance, man, right? Created man in his own image, right? And in fact, let's go to that. Genesis chapter 1, verse 31. Unless you all have that memorized too. No? Okay. Genesis chapter 1, verse 31. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was what?
Very good.
Very good. And the evening and the morning were the what? 6 days. So you add all this up. And what do you get?
6 days.
Very good. Right? Excellent. Very good. And then, of course, what do you do the 7th day?
Rest.
Because he was tired?
No.
Because he just couldn't go on? No. Just example for us, right? We should not just go. Gotta get that day off. So, he created all this. All that is in Genesis 1:1, right? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. He created it all. He created it for his glory. He created it for us, right? Those who are created in his image. He wanted people who would walk with him and talk with him and choose to what?
Worship him and love him.
Worship him and love him and praise him and glorify him. Now, how many rules were there in the garden that he then planted and created for them with all these wonderful fruits and a place where they would never die or be hurt or have any problems of any kind? How many rules were there?
One.
Now, how many think? Raise your hand. Be honest. If there was only one rule, how many think you could follow it?
Think is a good word.
I think I could. Yeah. We actually do this with the kids sometimes. We'll just put one rule. Usually it's something like we'll put a candy out in front of everybody and say the one rule is don't touch the candy. How many think you can go through an entire class without breaking that rule? Little kids especially. You know, they're like, it's just too much. It's too tempting, right? It's like that. Most of them even forget it. They forget the rule. It's like they're just going along. It's like, oh yeah, I wasn't supposed to touch that. By the way, the funny thing is, will there always be another kid who rats them out?
Sure.
Oh, absolutely. Boy, human beings are horrible, aren't they? So it was all very good, and God walked with them. This was God's plan, right? This was God's ultimate. This would be it. If we didn't do what? What was the one rule? Do not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Therefore, Adam and Eve did what?
They ate tree.
Ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. In fact, let's go to it. Genesis chapter 3, verse 1. Yeah, we're not very long in the Bible here before things fall apart, do we? We got all the way to chapter 3.
Yeah.
And by the way, for 5 days of that, we weren't around, so we couldn't even mess it up. It takes long enough. Genesis chapter 3, verse 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, has God said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? Hasn't he given you permission to eat all these wonderful, isn't he a good God? And the woman said unto the serpent, we may eat of all the fruits of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden. Did they know which tree it was?
I knew exactly where it was.
See, God's not about subterfuge here. It's not like he said, okay, there's a whole 5,000 trees, don't eat from one of them. I'm not going to tell you which one it is. He's like, in the middle. Put it smack dab in the middle, right? You'd have to go and try to get it, right? Yeah, they never knew what it was. So the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, you shall not eat it, neither shall you touch it, lest you what? Did God tell them the consequence?
No.
Separation from him, death, right?
You told him?
Yeah, told him. Told Adam that. That was the rule. That was the way it is, right? And the serpent said unto the woman, you shall not surely die. What's the serpent here, which we know is Satan? That's very clear, especially from the book of Revelation. It just flat out says the serpent is Satan. So what is he basically saying of God?
He's a liar.
He's a liar. He cannot be trusted. Now, is there anything in their nature at this point that would tell them that God's a liar?
No.
No? Has he done anything to indicate that he would possibly be a liar?
Nope.
But just at the word of the serpent, they were willing for a moment to say, maybe. In fact, look what it says. Verse 5, for God doth know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. Now, some of that's true, but how is he twisting it into if it's a good thing, right? Because isn't that the problem? Because if you tell mankind, as weak as we are, if you give us an option of doing good or evil, if you give us the ability to know whether to do good or to do bad, which one are we going to choose?
Well, we don't know.
Bad. At least some of the time. Most of the time. As we're going to find out, almost all the time. And that's the problem, isn't it? And what's he saying? Not only is God a liar, but he does not have your best interest in mind. He's trying to keep something great from you. How long has this been Satan's lie?
Oh,
From the beginning. Is he still telling it today?
Correct.
Isn't that behind most of the temptations that we have? God says no, but God just doesn't want you to be happy. He doesn't want you to have fun. He doesn't want you to know this world's pleasures. He doesn't want you to have these wonderful, wonderful things. No, God just doesn't want you in bondage. God doesn't want you hurt. God doesn't want things that are bad for you. But it's a lie that he still teaches today, doesn't he? And did it work?
Oh, yeah.
Verse 6. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food. Now, could God have made it look like, broccoli or something? They would have looked at it and said, ugh. Who would eat that? No, it didn't make it. He made it a beautiful. All of his stuff was what? Very good. All his creation was very good. Did it look good enough to eat? Did it smell good? Looked good, right? Didn't have worms coming out of it or anything like that. It was good to eat. And what's the problem here? She's using her what?
Senses.
Her eyes and her own thoughts. I perceive that it is good to eat that. Therefore what?
I will.
In fact, she says, it's a tree to be desired to make one wise. She took the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband Adam with her, and he did eat.
So she feels better about it.
And this what begins? Sin. This is known as the what? The fall. Fall from God's great grace. Fall from our relationship with God, which was meant to be a personal one that was holy and perfect and complete union, and it all fell apart. In fact, look at verse 7. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. So they immediately started thinking what? Evil and good. This is right and this is wrong. And they tried to hide. In fact, they tried to hide themselves when God came down, right? God came down as he always did to walk and talk with them. Where were they? They were hiding, right? Did they know what they'd done was wrong?
Yep.
Yeah. Yet this started the problem, didn't it? And after the fall, they were cast out of the garden, could not go to the tree of life. They had to go out there. Adam had to work with his hands to make things grow, right? And for Eve, she was going to have to conceive with pain and suffering. Ladies, you all have your little word with her at some point about all that, but don't blame her. From what I read from the Bible, everybody would have done probably the same thing. Right? It's a problem. And sin has its consequences, doesn't it?
Yes, yes.
But I love that even then, does God already have a plan to correct this? He even says to the serpent, hey, I will send somebody to crush your head, right? I'm going to send somebody through the woman. So there's even blessing to the woman, right? It's going to be through her. Man, sin's coming through you. Nope. Woman, salvation's coming through you. And that's what's coming. Now, after that, everybody got along well, right? How many generations did it take before they started killing each other? Right away. Cain killed Abel, and that started a whole thing. And even then, God was gracious, though, right, to Cain, protecting him and putting the mark of Cain on him, that anybody killed him would be killed. I mean, it was even grace in all of that. God's always been full of grace, hasn't he? Always full of mercy, always full of forgiveness. And how have we repaid him? Genesis chapter 6. So we have the generations of Cain, we have the generations of Seth, which is the replacement for Abel. We have all the other kids of Adam and Eve growing up, having kids, and them having kids, and then having kids, and they populate, right? That's what happens. When there's not a lot of disease, and not a lot of murder, not a lot of war, we tend to grow, right? Over hundreds and thousands of years, we tend to grow. And what happened? Well, this happened. Chapter 6, verse 5. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. How many absolute statements are there? Every imagination was only evil all the time. That's what happens. Which did we choose, good or evil? We chose evil. Now, was God still there?
Yes.
Did they still know there was a God?
Yes.
Yes. But they chose to keep him out of his mind. In fact, Jesus says that at the end of these times will be like the days of Noah, where people were marrying and giving in marriage, but having no thought of who? Of God. No thought of serving him, no thought of loving him, no thought of praising him or worshiping him, right? And that's what the world was like. It was just evil and wickedness all the time. So what did God decide? Verse 6. And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. So when it says that God made man in his own image, let's remember that, do we feel things? How many here feel things? How many here can be grieved when our children or our friends or family or people we love do something that we know is not right, that is not good? It hurts, doesn't it? If it hurts us, we know it also hurts who? And can you imagine him looking down at all of his creation, these people who he created, that he can walk with them and talk with them and love them and bless them, all rejecting him? And he also knew what that would lead to, right? What's the end result of that? Good? No, bad. For them, for eternity, and it was horrible. And you know it's bad when God was even sorry that he even made us. That's pushing people to the brink, isn't it? Verse 7, the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them. Basically anything that requires breath, right? The seed folks are going to be fine. This time, all right? Next time it's with fire, they won't get off. But, I mean, this time they were going to be okay, but the rest of them were going to be destroyed. How sad is this? This is the natural consequences of us just being left to our own devices. How people always say, wouldn't it be nice if there was no religion? Wouldn't it be nice if there was no church, if there's nobody telling us what to do, there were no commandments, there was no Bible, everybody could just do what was right in their own eyes. Wouldn't that be great?
Morality would follow. That's it.
This is what happens. This is what happens.
No rules.
So what did God do? Did he give them a chance, by the way? 120 years.
Yeah.
Is that a... Could they have repented?
Yes.
If they would have repented and turned to God, would he have possibly not flooded the world?
Yes.
And even if more would have gotten on the ark, could they have gotten on the ark? Not more animals, but more people. That's the sad part of the whole story, isn't it?
Yes.
More animals probably would have gotten on the ark. Because they're not as dumb as we are. We only got 8 human beings, right? And that's the beauty of it. Look at verse 8. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. And we see that during this period, from the fall until this period, we see God's hand in just one single line of a family. People like Methuselah, people like Enoch, people, I mean, just one is mentioned, where he would come down and in a family, he would pick one. And that person was faithful. And then of that one, all of his kids, there would be one that was faithful. And in that kid, one was faithful that we know of. Right? There may have been a few others, but as you track it down through, and we also see down through that line, even though Methuselah lived 969 years, and Enoch probably would have lived longer than his son Methuselah, except he walked with the Lord. That entire line of family left. All the faithful ones left before the flood. Took them all before the flood, leaving only who? Noah and his 3 sons, his wife and their 3 wives. 8 people in the whole world who were praising and worshiping God. And he had grace to say, I will preserve them. And did he?
Yes.
And we know what happened. He said he was going to flood the earth. Did he flood the earth?
Yes. Sure is.
40 days and 40 nights of rain. Is that a lot of rain? Yeah, especially when you have it coming down in buckets from the sky and from the earth. You have it coming, how quickly can the flood rise? It's amazing how much just a little bit of rain can bring so much water. And he flooded the earth, killing what? All the animals and all the birds and all the human beings and all the creepy little things, except what was on the ark. And a year later, when they got out, yes, a year later, keep in mind, it wasn't 40 days and 40 nights, and then they got out of the ark. It took a year before there was enough dry land so they could actually get out and have land that they could then till and make a living and have food and things like that. A year later, they get off that boat, they give great praise to God, they build an altar, they see the rainbow, the great promise of God, and they went on their way, and God said what to them? Chapter 9, verse 1. Genesis chapter 9, verse 1. And God blessed Noah and his sons. Yes. And he said to them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. One rule. I got a job for you. Spread out. Go and replenish the earth. And you know what they said? No. After what they've been through. Now, I don't know about Noah and his 3 sons specifically, but as they grew and they had kids and they had kids and they had kids, you know what they decided? We don't need to spread out. In fact, let's all go together to one place. And let's build a city for us. And let's stay all together. Is that what God told them to do?
No.
I'm going to say it again. How dumb are we? How rebellious are we? They all knew the story, didn't they? Didn't they know that how the past generations were just rejected God, rejected his ways, and God destroyed the entire earth, killing everybody but their families? Did they know that story? How many think they knew that story? That you should listen to God and fear him and follow his. Should they have known that? But they didn't, did they? In fact, look at chapter 11, verse 1. Genesis 11, verse 1. The whole earth was of one language and one speech. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
No.
It would be great. That's a good thing. Be able to communicate and get along. The only problem is we used it to be dumb. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. You say, where is that? Well, Babylon. And they said one to another, go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. Their plan was what? Let's make sure we don't spread out over the whole earth. What did God tell them to do?
Spread out.
Spread out over the whole earth. So what did God do? Anybody know what he did? He made them spread out.
Right.
You can't speak to each other. You can't get along. So basically we now have the birth of nations. A birth of peoples. And he spread them out. Verse 5. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one. And they have all one language. And this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. And why is that about? See, most people look at that and say, they can do anything, and anything they imagine to do, they can do. Doesn't that sound great? What does God know? What is their imagination again? Only evil continually. You can't let us do what we want to do. He knows that. So what did he do? Verse 8, so the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name called Babel. He confused their languages so they could not go. So basically they broke down by languages, and they set off to spread all over the world. That's why we have different languages. That's why we have different peoples. That's why we spread all over the world. Now, what did God want them to do when they spread out? What did he expect these nations to do? So they go, and Japheth and his descendants, they take off in boats. They're boat makers. They take off in boats, and they head out that way. People head out towards China and Asia. People head north this way. People head south and go down to the African area. They spread out all over the place, right? And he expected them as nations when they get there to worship who?
God.
There's only one God. But what did the nations decide to do when they got there?
Create culture. Made their own gods.
Yeah. They worshipped
Idols.
own gods. Which aren't really gods, but are idols. Every creeping thing, every animal, every created thing, the sun, the moon, the stars, the trees, the slime, whatever. They come up with whatever else to worship except for who? Which brings us to the story of Abraham. How's God doing so far? How many would say he's a little disappointed? By the way, he knew all this was going to happen. Did he give us a chance, though? Did he give us a chance to do what was right? Did he give us a chance to do what we thought was right and to follow him? Yes, he gave us a chance, but we didn't do it, did we? And even after he destroyed us with a flood, we still would not follow him. So, and he made us into nations, and even those nations would not follow him. So what did he say? I will make a what? My own nation. And that's what the story of Abraham and Sarah is about. That is his promise, isn't it? I will make of Abram and Sarai, I will make of them a nation that will be my nation. For what purpose? To show the other nations who I am. To remind them that I am the one true God. As I bless them, they will see that when they follow me, I will bless them. And when I punish them, they will understand, the other nations will understand too, that I am the one true God and I will punish, right? So they may know him. And that is what this story is about. But let's see where it really starts. Genesis chapter 11, verse 27. And the story actually starts with Abram's father, a guy by the name of Terah. Now, if you want to read the whole lineage down through, from Shem all the way down to Abram, that's in the rest of chapter 11. preceding this, but we see in chapter 11, verse 27 this. Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begat Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Okay? So he had 3 sons. Daughters too, but 3 sons. And Haran begat Lot. Everybody remember Lot?
Oh, yeah.
Sodom and Gomorrah, the whole thing. So Haran had a son named Lot. And Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his nativity in Ur of the Chaldees. Now, interesting little tidbit there. Anybody know where Ur of the Chaldees is relative to Babel? It's not very far away. Same area. We've been having a problem in this area from the very beginning. We just can't quite get far enough from there, can we? So Ur of the Chaldees, right? In verse 29, and Abram and Nahor took them wives. Okay? The name of Abram's wife was, everybody together? Sarai. And the name of Nahor's wife, Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah and the father of Iscah. If you want to break that down a little bit, Nahor's wife was who? The daughter of Haran, which makes him his niece. But don't dig too deep, people. It's okay. Yes, he took his brother's daughter as his wife. Get over it. It's going to be okay. But Sarai was barren, and she had no child. This will play bigger later on. Now, here's the interesting part. Verse 31. And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go unto the land of Canaan, and they came unto Haran and dwelt there. So, they're going from Ur, and who's in this group? Terah the father, Abram, his son, Abram's wife Sarai. Wait a minute, where's Nahor?
Yeah, it's Nahor.
Nahor doesn't appear to go. So he stays back, and they head. And where are they going, people?
Away from Chaldees.
Canaan.
Yep.
Sometimes we get the idea that Abram was the one that was told to go to Canaan. Evidently, who was told to go to Canaan first?
Terah.
Terah. Where were they going? They were going to Canaan. Terah was taking Abram and all of them going to Canaan. Did they make it? No, they did not.
Someone died.
They got as far as this little place. What it was called before, I have no idea. What did they call it when they got there? Haran. Why did they call it Haran? After his son who had died up here in Ur. Okay? So they only make it that far. They did not make it to Canaan. Where does God want them to be?
Canaan.
Canaan. So who does he come to now? Comes to Abram, chapter 12, verse 1. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house unto a land that I will show thee. Right? You got to leave. Now, this whole study is going to be in what? Let go. How hard is it to let go of that? What is he asking him to let go of? Family. Country. Language. Security. I mean, how hard is this? You know, nowadays it's like, oh yeah, I can leave. I can always call them. I can Zoom meeting with them. I can. But when is he ever going to see his father Terah again?
Oh,
Who is going to be there in the land of Canaan to support him?
Terah.
No. There's days in there. He's going to leave everything. How important was family back then? These were nomadic people, right? How important was it to have a family there? Could raiders just come in and kill you and your entire family? Could raiders come in and just steal all of your herds? Could raiders come in and just, I mean, you were just a small little family in a foreign land with no support. Except for who? God. And that's the important thing, isn't it? What was he telling him to do? Let go and follow what?
God.
Me. Follow God, right? I want you to go away from who? Out of your country, away from your kindred, brothers, sisters, family, cousins, everybody you know, and from thy father's house, your inheritance, your possessions, right? I want you to leave it all, and I want you to go to land that I will show you. Now, what's the promise here? Verse 2. And I will make thee a great what? Nation. That's his whole purpose here. I'm in a nation build here, right? I'm going to make a nation that will be my nation. And I will bless you and make thy name great, and you shall be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curses thee. And in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Is that a great promise?
Oh, yeah.
So he's asking him to let go, and he will ask us sometimes to let go, won't he? Let go of family or other things that we find security in. Things of this world that we think give us value, and things that we think are important, and people we think are important, and tell us to let go of them. But when he says let go, he says what? Hold on to who? Hold on to me. And I will bless you. Let me have my way with you. Right? How hard is that? It's hard. Do we need to do it sometimes, though?
False.
It's not always moving to a foreign country or a foreign state. It could be a lot of things. It could be leaving a job. It could be just cutting off a friendship. It could be leaving all kinds of things that we think we need. I'm sure if you asked Abram and Sarai and Lot, who went with them, do you need your family? What would they say?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're all I have in this world. And God said, no, you got me. Is God enough?
Amen.
Yeah.
That's great.
And he says, let go. And we have those wonderful words in the Bible. So Abram departed. It's only 3 words, but how awesome is that?
Obedience.
So he left. Absolute obedience. He did take his wife with him. Is that good? Yeah.
Sometimes.
It's important for reading the story. So Abraham departed as the Lord had spoken unto him. He just did what he was supposed to do. Right? It's kind of like the missionary. He talked about the kid who was going around telling everybody about Christ, right? It was like, is it hard? Yeah. Are you nervous? Yeah. Why are you doing it then? Because he told me to. How hard is this? Just go, but to let go of our inhibitions, let go of our fears, let go of all those things, and just follow God can be hard, can it? Is it worth it though?
Amen.
He also took Lot. Now a lot of people get on him for taking Lot. You really can't, because Abram's the oldest, and what is his job in that family? He has to take Lot. Basically, when Haran died, Lot became his son. You can't just kick your son to the side, right? So he took Lot. Lot becomes a problem, but he takes Lot, and Lot went with him, and Abram was 75 years old. Let's think about that for a moment. You maybe, when you're in your 20s and you're a couple who's just starting out, and God says go to Ireland, you may say, what? I've got energy. I've got the future. I've got everything. Yeah, I can go do that. Can you imagine how many here are 75 years or older? Can you imagine this point in your life, God saying, I want you to leave everything you find comfortable. I want you to leave your bed, your home. I want you to leave air conditioning. I want you to, and I want you to go and just do what I want you to do. 75. And you say, oh, people lived a long time back there. No, this is after the flood, folks. 100 was pushing it. 125, he got pretty old, but it was old. At 75 years old, God is going to start a nation with a 75-year-old and a 65-year-old wife.
Because he knows he can.
Can God do that?
Yes.
Because they were willing to what? Let go. Let go of everything that said don't do it. And just did it. And they just departed. And that's how old when they departed out of Haran. And Abram took Sarah his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran. They had servants, and they had employees, and things like that. And they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and in the land of Canaan they came. And Abram passed through the land unto the place of Sichem, unto the plain of Moreh, and the Canaanite was in the land. So just he wants to make sure you understand there. This is the land of Canaan, and the Canaanites were there.
Right.
It's not like it was before they were there. They're there. And how many people like other people just kind of coming out of their country?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they love it.
Even today.
Taking their land, taking their stuff, they invite it. No, Canaanites didn't like it either. And they said what? No. And that's the land they're going to, but he trusted who?
God.
So that's where we're going to start. And it starts with a man just letting go of all the things that he would normally find his security in, everything he would find his safety in, everything he'd think is important, everything he would think he needed, and just go. And just go wherever God wanted him to. I always love that part. I want you to go, and I'll show it to you. That's really tough, right?
Right.
Can't even plan. All he knows is there's someplace in Canaan. Had he ever been there before? No, of course he's never been there before. They go Google it and look at what's going on over there. What kind of people are there? What language they speak? They ain't got nothing. He's just going. Can we let go like that? It's hard, isn't it? Is it worth it though? How can he do it?
Faith.
Faith. According to Hebrews, we'll look at this next week. This is where we'll start next week. Hebrews chapter 11 says Abraham did it because he had faith. Faith that God had something better for him. Which is kind of interesting given how we got into this mess. What was Satan's lie? That God is keeping something good from you. What did Abraham believe? God's got something good for me. That's better than anything this world has to offer. Who was right?
Yeah.
Abraham was right. We can trust him, can't we?